Hi, thanks for joining me today at Leap into the Future of Libraries virtual conference with SJSU. I'm going to talk about the Global Learning Commons today, which is Fielding's network for educators. I'm going to talk about what it is, why it's important, and what it has to do with the library community. So I'm Janet Jefferson. I'm a learning designer at Fielding International, and I'm also the coordinator of the Global Learning Commons. And I'm going to talk first just about what Fielding International is. So Fielding International is an integrated firm, which means we consist of architects and educators. And we specialize in designing schools. And we really focus on designing schools where learners thrive. So we bring a global perspective. We are found in over 50 countries, and we have 18 international design awards and published 4 books. This is important because we have a pulse on the education scene around the world, and we have an idea of what's happening in both rural and urban schools, public and private, no matter where they are in the world, and taking some of the most innovative practices, and we can apply them all over. So our process is about alignment. We align vision, education program, and environment to help learners thrive now and in the future. And the idea is that as you combine those mission, vision, and your curriculum and your pedagogy and the space and how you and the furniture and how you can move through the space, when all 3 components are in alignment, that you are able to really create a more wholesome educational environment for everyone, both students and educators. So as I said, we are an architecture firm that consists of both educators and architects. And then here I am talking about a virtual network. So this came about because as we were working with our clients, we realized that they really desired to see some examples of what learner-centered education looks like and how do some of these learner-centered buildings work? What are the components and what are the practices that need to be in place to make them highly functional? And we would connect our current clients with former clients or with other schools around the world that were doing it really well. And they found it incredibly helpful. Being there and seeing things in action was critical. It was also so important to be able to talk to other practitioners, other educators and leaders who were doing it, and they can share what was working and what wasn't, and what were some of the actual tangible moves that they put in place to be successful. So as we were doing this on a case-by-case basis, we realized this would be so helpful on a larger scale. So we created this virtual network. Anyone is invited, anyone who identifies as a school leader, either a teacher, support staff, or an administrator, and anyone is welcome, whether you're associated with Fielding or not. And we are now a B certified corporation. So we decided to make this completely free and to help break down as many barriers as possible to really connect people so they can learn and grow together. So let me show you around the Global Learning Commons a little bit and talk about what it is. So as I said, it is a network for school leaders that connects regularly to discuss, learn, and grow around student-centered education. And it has multiple components. So the first component are virtual workshops. We meet once a month online, and we have guest speakers come and talk about different, as I said, tangible moves that can be applied to create more learner-centered environments. And so that could be about transforming space or pedagogy or culture. And some of this is going to be more systems-based, like how do you use time or schedules, but then some of it could be very physical about what furniture do you have and what is working. And then it could also be about teaching modalities. So we cover a lot of ground in these monthly meetings. They're always really hands-on in the fact that we always have breakout groups and there's always opportunities for discussion and active note-taking as we use different virtual tools. We also have the option for people to join a cohort group, which is just of your peers. And it's really focused on what are your biggest challenges now, and a group of people to bounce ideas off the wall, start to troubleshoot those, and then also share best practices. So it's a space to both celebrate successes, but then also work through challenges together. We do have optional hands-on support. So whether that's virtual or in person, we're always happy from Fielding to jump in and give a hand. Part of the membership to the Global Learning Commons includes a variety of resources, both a virtual library, which is a curated library of sources that we found really helpful. And those range from videos to books to articles, a whole wide range. And then we also have a member directory where members connect directly with each other. So if they have questions, they can seek out up here and have those answered. We also offer in-person tours. And so we take a group of people, whoever is interested, to some of our showcase schools so they can actually see it in action. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. We took a trip out to South Clearfield in Salt Lake City, Utah this fall, and we were there and we were greeted with this. So it was a Friday, and this is their typical Friday, that there's this big welcoming committee, and it really focuses on the students, making sure that they have that sense of belonging, and everyone's excited to be there, excited to learn, and you show up at the front doors and it's a big party. So that was a really special treat to be able to see. We had with us Robbie Kinghorn, who is the former principal of South Clearfield, and currently he is working with district leadership with schools around the district. He was there to talk a little bit about his experience. So this is him speaking to some participants from the Global Learning Commons about some of the partnerships that they have with the local universities and colleges.
3 teachers through us, they're level 2 through another school. And so what we've done is we've designed we know exactly what they're going to get as teachers, instead of this kind of crapshoot of where are they going to end up. Hopefully they get a good experience. Our teachers that come to our program are usually hired by their level 4 because they're incredible. If they are, and the ones that aren't, honestly, it's me and the other principal holding on to them, saying, please don't interview like we want you here, because they're fabulous. So that's the academy piece of it. And up top, you can see that top green spot. That's a huge academy room you'll see that the universities have access to, where they can come and teach classes on site, and then they can actually go.
So that room that Robbie was talking about, the university room or the academy room, is right here. So it's a really flexible space that student teachers can come and use this space as well. Other classes can be taught, workshops can be taught. So it's a really dynamic and flexible space that allows for that partnership to be in place. So as we toured around the school, we got to see all the spaces, but we were also able to speak with the teachers and hear their experiences, hear about what works for them and where they found successes. We also had the opportunity to speak with students, and we could hear about their stories of what school was like before this building, and then what school was like now and how it impacted their learning. We were able to talk to Sarah, who is the assistant principal, and she talked about some of the systems and structures were in place to really help both students and educators thrive. And then we got to see the library. So this is the library. It's actually an L shape that curves around the corner. And what's really interesting about this is it was designed to be a really welcoming space. So you walk into the school, and this is actually one of the first spaces you see. There's a nice big fireplace that's warm and welcoming, and it really invites students and families to come in and have this warm space of belonging that really encourages learning, but it also encourages community. So the library is a bit of a heart of the school. So this is a clip of Robbie speaking after we took our tour about some of the challenges moving into the new building and some of the strategies he used to make it a little bit easier. He talked about how important it is to talk to educators beforehand and make sure that they really curate their resources and reduce the materials that they plan on moving to the new building with.
This was my custodian stuck to that 2 box thing like hugely, and that caused conflict. And I didn't realize this until talking to her. She's going to be here, but she's off today. But that caused conflict with some teachers, but that conflict is still there. Yeah. And it should have been, hey, if you don't like it, like telling her like as a custodian, if you don't like it, you go talk to Rob, like go talk to him about it, not her being the enforcer, because it did cause problems. And then there were some at the end that, maybe 3 or 4 boxes, whatever. But with that limit of 2, they really had to think, like, what do I truly need?
No file cabinets, no old bookshelf, no ratty couch that they picked up off the street or whatever, all that stuff. Get rid of it because we're buying all the furniture.
Yeah. If I can say too, going from PE back into the classroom, my first thought when I looked in my room, I don't have a lot of shelf space, cupboards, all of that stuff. And so my thought was, oh my gosh, where am I going to put everything I need? And 2 years later, I'm like, oh, I don't really need it because so much of it is online and I can just put it on the TV and it's all there. And if I need to print something out, I can, but it's all digital. So it does work. You just have to be open to getting rid of stuff.
So for members of the Global Learning Commons to be able to hear from both Robbie and then the other woman speaking, that's Jody Comanche, and she is a current teacher at South Clearfield Elementary, to hear those stories and be able to bring them back to their own communities and say, look, this is what works, or maybe this doesn't, and we need to try it a slightly different way. It's so great to have those real life stories on hand, and they're really powerful to help actually enact change. And we're going to hear a little bit from a conversation that I had with Mike Posthumus, who is the principal of the learning design team at Fielding International. And he's going to talk about why it is so important to have something like the Global Learning Commons in place. So, Mike, I wanted to start off with just asking you, why do we need to change our approach to education?
It's a great question, Janet, and it's something that people ask us a lot when we're working in communities. But the big picture is that there's many reasons, and for many communities, they all have their own reasons. So there isn't one single answer to this, but a couple surfacing themes are: one, there's an increasing skills gap between what Fortune 500 companies are looking to hire and what students are actually being trained to do in school. The way that we teach students in school is not necessarily aligned with the types of experiences and activities and opportunities that students need to prepare for their future. Another is that the things that we teach in school, what's meaningful and relevant to students, needs to be reassessed. Kids are becoming tragically disengaged in learning, and we see this all over the world, not just in the United States. And the topics and issues and opportunities that kids want access to need to be integrated into school so that they can work with robotics and technology and tackle problems and issues that are important to them, kind of augmenting or in some cases replacing that core canon of knowledge that has traditionally been taught in schools. And then finally, another big one is the emergence and kind of disruptive opportunity that technology is playing in education. So the more technology that technology advances, the more impact that we see, things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, and even just the power of computing. As those things are developing, the way we use technology in learning needs to be integrated into teaching and learning, not just something that's slapped on top of a traditional school experience. And when you start to think of the skills gaps, the competencies, a meaningful and engaging curriculum, and the integration of technology, it really causes us to pause and say, what does this new experience actually look like? What if we rebuilt the system from the ground up? What could school be? And we find that schools that are beginning to engage in this conversation are really seeing incredible opportunities for their students, incredible opportunities for their teachers, and really for their communities when they start to think about how to shift and change teaching and learning. the ideal scenario with every client we ever have had is that they've thought about their future vision for teaching and learning, and we get to come in and then help them design the space for it. But that journey starts usually years before they're ready to build a building, and that's where the network can really support, I think, a lot of people is in that starting point of like, look, we know we need to do something different, especially after COVID. That was a catalyst, a huge moment for so many people, and thinking like we got to make sure that schools are evolving alongside these disruptive opportunities. And so this is a great place to start doing that work that leads up to those moments where building might get called into question. So this is a lot of the opportunity for pre-work and envisioning and thinking thoughtfully about the practices of the future of school. And then once those practices are learned and put into place, and people can start to iterate on them, it allows other leaders in your school or district to then say, well, what would be the types of spaces and environments we need to support these great practices? And that's how we get to play in both worlds, which is really fun and exciting.
So we just heard from Mike about why we need to change our approach to education and why the Global Learning Commons is important. So now let's explore what role librarians and media specialists can play. And we're going to hear from Susan Semler, who is a lead librarian at a large public high school in Minneapolis. It's such an interesting position that you're in because you are connected to so many different people within the school, but then clearly within even the district, and you're able to step out of your role in a way that I think your average classroom teacher has a really hard time doing, and make those connections and have that, as you said, sort of the gift of creativity and time and flexibility. It allows you to really jump in and support in a way that most classroom teachers or even other types of support staff, I don't know, necessarily have that. It makes me wonder, like, that's incredible. Like, you're sort of this magician. And that makes me think about librarians being in this very, very powerful position. And how can your role help move classroom teachers to be more student centered?
I really think one of the most powerful things is, especially for a high school teacher, is seeing someone in their shoes doing it.
Yeah.
I met with a group of special ed teachers, and I was meeting about projectors in their ceiling, but they were like talking about something. I'm like, go and see who does it at other schools, go outside our district, and you can bring only so much back. But like I said, I become a hub of knowledge. And so like, even if there's furniture, people like, hey, go talk to Susan. Hey, do you need this? Go talk to Susan, just because I like to talk, as Nathan knows. And, I have a lot of information about a lot of different things, but I think, how can a librarian specifically do it? I think by just getting out there and being a hub of information, right? Like learn about as many things as you can, because then the knowledge will be there. And in each presentation, try to give, you only get so much time in front of staff, and emails only can do so much. So in my particular role, I think that every minute that you have in front of your staff, you really have to maximize. So if you think of ways that can help teachers, whether it be student-centered or not, you need to get them on board first. You need to have them willing to come to you with ideas, or you have to build that relationship. So I think every minute that you're available, yeah, you could keep student-centered in, the forefront of your mind when doing this, but until you have that relationship built with them, or have some valuable tips for them or time savers, they're not going to be receptive to much, because they're going too fast. They're like algebra 2, like
Susan, how do you see a network like the Global Learning Commons? So a place where teachers, support staff, administrators all are coming together and discussing ideas. How do you see a network like that supporting the work that you do at your school?
I love the idea. It's just a matter of time, right? Like, I just went and spent all my time. And my administrator allowed it. I asked, I didn't get paid gas. I didn't get paid extra time, but I went, not on my own time though. I went in an afternoon, and I went over to Lakeville South, I went to Lakeville North, I went to Hastings, like all over. And that's the power of the system you're creating. It's just how user-friendly it is and how accessible it is. And then you get a few people excited about it. And then I'll tell my colleagues over at Eastview and be like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. If you're just looking for something, troll here or look here. And so I think the power of your platform would be really cool if I got it. And I do that every month, right? Sometimes I put it on my calendar, but if I go in and check every month, like, hey, this would be kind of a, I wonder what's out there now, or I wonder if there's anything new now, just to get new ideas. I think that could be really powerful. I can see that's how I would maybe use it. Or if I had a specific problem, obviously I would know that would be a go-to resource, but I would see the excitement there as, how can I get inspired with the time and space that I have?
Thank you so much for listening today. It was great to be able to share with you about the Global Learning Commons and what it is, why it's important, and the role that librarians can play in this journey towards more learner-centered education. If you want to learn more about the Global Learning Commons, please visit fieldingintl.com/network. And you can learn more there, or email me at janet@fieldinginternational, so fieldingintl.com, and reach out to me, ask questions. I'd love to connect and hear from you. So thank you so much again.